My name is Steve Jones. I served in the Marine Corps from 2001 to 2009. I did direct air support, which is a 7242 MOS. Was deployed to Iraq in 2004, 2005. And in that time, I ended up processing 43 requests for casualty evacuations in the last 30 days I was in. And that ended up causing a tremendous amount of PTSD and stress in my life, ending on that type of note, leaving combat. I buried all of that memories in the back of my mind, and I didn't want to think about it. Specifically, the very first one that I actually did, because you're doing well in training, but you don't really know how you're gonna handle it when it becomes real. And I just happened to get off a shift the same time that the helicopter came back with the casualty, and I stupidly ran out to the helipad, and they were, hey, great, an extra set of hands, and I'm now holding this guy together as they bring him to the field hospital. And I didn't know if he lived or died, and it bothered me. I buried that, and I didn't ever want to think about it again. And I never knew his name. So I got out of the Marines in 2009, thought everything was, okay. I buried the emotions. And then in 2010, 11-ish, 12 time frame, it really came back to me. I was really struggling with some, stuff that I tried to not think about and hide. And smells would just trigger me, and I was really struggling. So my work at the time said, hey, if you want to continue to progress in the company, you want to move up past the manager, you have to go back to school and get a degree. So they didn't care what it was in. So I said, well, my friends have recently committed suicide that did the same job as I did. And I know I'm struggling, so I'm going to go back for clinical psychology, and I'll maybe save the veteran population that way. Well, in doing that, I had to do a whole bunch of humanities courses in the psychology degree. And so I started off with philosophy. Turned out I already thought in the abstract, so that wasn't really that helpful. So then I'm like, all right, well, what else is there? I can't sing and clap at the same time, so I can't do anything music related. So I did a drawing class. And then turned out I could draw, and it was pretty refreshing for me. So then I took more art classes, and I wanted to take my painting one class with the same teacher I had taken the drawing class with, because he had promised that we could paint like the masters after painting 101. And I wasn't able to take it with him, so I ended up taking it with a different teacher named Dean Nimmer, who actually became a very good friend of mine and my mentor in the art world, and who has passed away this past weekend. So it's pretty hard for me. But he taught us to paint feelings and emotion in an abstract form. So where this other teacher was going to teach us realism, Dean, he taught us to paint abstract, and specifically your feelings and your emotions and how you feel. And so in the class, we so pick a color, you pick the colors on how you're feeling. They represent your mood. So I chose the green here and the brown here, and so it felt like crap. And it felt like just bombing. I was in just turmoil. So we just let the paint go into water, and wherever it went, it went. And then we would unfocus our eyes. You can make everything blurry. I unfocus my eyes, and your mind still wants to create sense of what it sees. So when looking at what I had made, I saw that first casualty evacuation that I brought in. The Marine that I had met at the helipad was a black Marine. His hands became all the desert sands of Iraq, and I went back in afterwards with the charcoal, and I put us in there. I made myself much taller, so it's kind of cool. But and I wasn't carrying him in the real. He was on the stretcher. But that enabled me to then talk about that experience and drag it out and process what actually had gone on during that time. And then able to talk about the other ones that I also, didn't want to think about. So when that realization occurred to me, like, hey, I'm able to talk about this experience now, I talked to the other students in my class that were also veterans, and they had varying degrees based on buy-in that they were, putting into the workshop that we were doing, but they all had positive outcomes from it. And so that's when I decided to start the Warriors Art Room. I said, I don't know when this is going to be, but I need to bring this to other veterans, at least this workshop. So that was in 2011 when I made this painting. And then in 2016, we started the Warriors Art Room nonprofit in Westfield. And since that time, in the last 7 years, we've worked with over 1,000 veterans and their family members, just creating artwork and helping people heal. We've done a lot with other organizations, Project New Hope, the Vet Center. We've done work with the incarcerated prisoners at Ludlow and in Billerica. We were going there every other Friday before COVID shut that down. But we were working with 30, 40 veterans each time at those prisons, and watching just how making art enabled them to then talk about their experiences, and some of them even why they were made the decisions that they made that put them in those positions. Very, very, very rewarding. So like I said, my goal now is to just bring this creative process to veterans and to their families in a way that's meaningful for them. And so at our art studio, the Warriors Art Room, we don't just focus on fine art. We also do quilting, we do writing labs, we do poetry, we do Dungeons and Dragons writing labs, which is actually really, really cool. You always think that's a nerdy thing, but what we've been able to do is we're able to take the story process of Dungeons and Dragons in a fantasy setting, and veterans then tell their story of their experience, like maybe it was a convoy that got hit by an IED or something, and they write a fantasy setting where they're escorting a merchant and it gets attacked, and the characters in their story are really them and their teammates in the service, and they can then control the outcome of when the players actually play their story, and it enables them to talk about their experience without talking about their experience. And so we also do the terrain making for those sessions, and painting all the miniatures that they're going to use. We do bladesmithing classes now. We do we do pottery, literally any type of art. We got a guy that's coming in, he's a Vietnam vet, making sculpture. And it's just amazing. But that's where my journey took me, and that's how I went from the service to art. Again, I wasn't an artist. I was, just the dad. I was a dad, and but I was struggling, and I needed to be there for my kids. So I had to get some help, and I wanted to be a help. Art for me isn't necessarily about the outcome. It's actually literally not about the outcome of what the piece looks like at all. I create for myself, and usually it's prompted by what's going on around me. So if you remember this past summer, we had all those fires up in Canada, just making the sky orange and air quality bad. And Hawaii just recently, I ended up painting lots of forest fires. I don't know why, but my work is clearly, it's abstract, heavy painted. I don't typically use brushes at all. Everything I do is with a palette knife. Because again, it's about the process for me. It's the movements. And I'll take a theme, and I'll go with that, but it could change 10 times while I'm making it, because, my mood might change. I might start out making a piece, that when I feel bad, but by the time I'm done it, I'm feeling good, because the creative process has changed my mood. And so the piece becomes brighter and happier, and the dark tones sometimes you don't even see them in the painting. This has actually got 3 other paintings underneath it, because again, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. So I'm gonna throw those other paintings away when I can use them as texture underneath another painting. So that for me is the most important thing that I stress to people that come to our studio is, we're not, some of them are really good, but most of us are not like master painters. You know, we're just there. We enjoy the camaraderie, and we enjoy the friendships that come out of making and creating together. But we also get to talk about our experiences, and we also get to share art with each other. And we share, you know, hey, this guy's making landscapes all the time, and he's getting pretty good at it. Well, what are some of the techniques that you use? And we share our techniques with each other, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and we encourage each other, and we buy each other's artwork to continue to encourage each other. For instance, Ed, last month, he was our featured artist. He's a Navy veteran, has never showed his artwork to anybody ever in his life, but he had 28 pieces just sitting in his house that he did during COVID time. So we encouraged, hey, bring them, put them in. Doesn't matter if you don't think you're ready. You can talk about these pieces. You made them, right? They're a piece of you. And so he ended up selling 11 of his pieces, about the 29 that he brought. And that's what it's really about, is encouraging others to create and enjoying the process. And really just, I'm going to say process 1,000 times, because that's what it's about. It's not about that journey. It's about the getting there, and what it can do for you. So that's what art has done for me, is it's really taken me from a dark place, where I looked at people kind of sideways, like I don't want to trust them, don't want to be in a group, to looking at people like, hey, yeah, you're probably struggling just like me. Why don't we talk about it? And this is one medium that we can use. You might make a painting that, like the other one I had, where it's going to enable you to talk about a time in your life that you struggled with, or it might just be, hey, this is what I'm feeling today, and these fires are bothering me, and I want to just, you know, I don't want to forget this time of my life, so I'm going to make a painting about it. And it's surprising what other people come and they view your art, and they want to know, hey, what is this? Because it's abstract, right? Some of them don't look like landscape at all. Some of them just lines all over. And they're like, tell me about this piece. And then you can tell them about that process of how you felt making it, and what you were thinking when you're making it. And then they fall in love with the piece based on the story behind the piece. You might not look at a piece and go, oh, I love this, until you hear the story behind it. And then you're like, I do love this, and I want to buy this, or a print of it, or so like that other one I have, there's probably, I think I made 400 prints. I think I have 3 left. People have them in their offices, in their homes. So that, I don't know if he lived or died, but he's going to live forever at least. And, you know, if I keep sharing the story. So, and then we named our gallery after the first guy that I served with that committed suicide. So we won't forget his name either. Staff Sergeant James Wheeler with Holly. So a lot of this is dedicated to the memory of him and Wire. Some of my other friends didn't have anywhere to turn, and then we don't want them to not have an outlet. So get them together, get them to talk, get them to create, and it's working. Not much I can also say about that. It works. I had a guy that I was working with who didn't want to be there. It was at the vet center. His wife dragged him there, found out I was doing a workshop that day. And he came, he is a Marine as well. And he literally said, you know, art is for a non-nice word. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I said, you're in the Marines, I was in the Marines. So if you want to go outside and fight, get your butt kicked by an artist, we could do that. And he's like, no, you're taking it the wrong way. I said, well, no, that's fine. I said, I'm just challenging your ego. I said, you know, do you think cavemen are weak? He's like, no. He's like, I said, so if we go into a 10,000-year-old cave and we look at the cavemen on the wall, this is what they drew. It's stick men. It's not fine art, but that's what they had. They didn't have written language, but they communicated their story. And he's like, well, I can only do stick men. I'm like, perfect. So use stick men to tell your story. I said, you have to show me, you have to show your wife, and show anybody. Just get it out there for yourself. And so he drew an ambush that he was involved with, where his 2 best friends were killed in combat, and there were stick men laying in front of the the Humvee that had the spoked rims like we had when we were kids. It's just like this rudimentary drawing, but he's weeping, and he called me over and he's like, hey, check this out. This happened. And he's like, I see this now, and I know that I'm doing my friends a disservice by not sharing the story. And he's never done any more with me, but he showed his wife. They cried together. They got couples therapy because now they know the root of the problem. And he ended up, teaching some group sessions, and that's all he needed, is to draw some stick men to be able to express how he was feeling. So if that was the only experience I had throughout all of my sharing of, hey, make art, it's worth it, but there's more out there. I know it. And so we'll continue to do that. So I sometimes will often hide stick men into my paintings now. It's abstract. I can do whatever I want. It doesn't have to be realistic. I'll throw stick men in there. That's why I love to create, just because it helps and it heals and it enables conversation. When we were children, we made art, and they were often stick men, and Mom was proud of them, and she put them on the fridge. And at some point we decided that wasn't good enough, or other things became more interesting, sports or cars or girls or boys, whatever. And I think we were all made to create. Like, nobody had to teach us to create when we were a little kid. Took some grants, and we were proud of what we made. And somewhere along the line, we went away from it. And when you can rediscover that, one of the joys in your youth, I think it's pretty powerful.
You had mentioned, when you got out of the service, how you were struggling as a dad. What has your journey done for you in your...
Was my family?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was struggling because when we were deployed, I was not making anywhere near the money that I was making, and we fell behind in bills. So then I had to work a lot to catch back up to where we needed to be financially. So I was just in exhaustion all the time, working full time, going to wrestling class, wrestling, and going to baseball, and just nonstop go. But never did I talk negatively about my service. In fact, I always made sure that, my kids knew that it was super important to give back to your country. And I had no regrets. It wasn't easy at that point, but I don't have any regrets. So now my kids are all grown. They're all adults. I have a son who is a sergeant in the Marines. He's a drill instructor down at Parris Island. He's up for staff sergeant, so that's pretty cool. My daughter, she's a second lieutenant in the Army, and very proud of her. She helps me with the art studio. She has a fine arts degree, so she clearly saw the benefits of what art can do, because she ended up pursuing that as her degree, and is, with the art. She also is our curator for our gallery, and then my wife, 20 years after I got out, went in to the Air Force. She just joined. She's a first lieutenant in the Air Force as a flight nurse. So at 47 years old, joined. So I get those weekends where I get, hey, what are we doing? Want to do something? I drum. Like, so yeah, that it's amazing to me, where all my struggles in my life had come from my service. They all decided that it would be worth it for themselves to go and make a difference. I'm very proud of all of them. We have very, very strong family, and but we all just stuck together and stayed with it, and so that supported each other.